We're talking with the past District Governor, Geoff James, who was actually a facilitator of the strategic plan. And how did you come to develop this plan? What alerted you to the fact that it was needed?
As a club, we were seeking a new direction. Our numbers were dropping, and we realised that our image in the community was still one of basically old men doing barbecues and then deciding we're going to do something for the community, and then using the money they had to do something that they saw as beneficial. And we realised we needed to change our direction. So we actually had a day in this very room actually where we reflected on where we were going. We looked at the aims of Rotary International, and one of our members, Gary Higgins, was actually part of the Go Goldfields Committee in Maryborough. And we realised what we needed to do was look at what does the community need rather than what we as Rotarians think the community needs. We need to go to the community first and say, what are the problems in the community? Where can we fit in with those problems? So that day, we actually looked at those sorts of issues. And we had a little visioning session where we imagined, or we first of all listed what we saw as the problems in the community, and some of that input actually had come from research and work that the Go Goldfields Committee had done. So we were looking at what the community thought were the problems, and then we imagined what our community might be like if those problems were solved. And then in small groups we thought, well, where can we interface with these solutions? And what came out really was that one of the biggest needs in our community is the need to do something about family violence. And that scared us, I think, a bit, because that's not a traditional area that Rotarians get involved in. But we actually worked through that and realised that's where we wanted to do something.
So were there scholarships suggested or study tours to develop the skills needed? That was,
of course, the next stage. The strategic plan basically said we want to do something in this area, so we then got committees to look at what are the sorts of things, how could we actually interface with this particular problem in the community. And there were a couple of other problems we'd highlighted as well, but this was we saw as the major one. And the scholarships was a logical, or one of the suggestions were made there, if we could look at what is world's best practice in dealing with the sort of issues that we were... Because when we did our vision of Maryborough, we looked at all of the sorts of ways in which family violence impacted on the families and the children and other aspects of the town. And so we thought if we could find out what is being done in the world to do something about this, and then maybe we could have a scholarship paid for someone to go to find out what world's best practice was, and then bring that information back to our community to make a difference.
Alan, you're now the president of the club.
I am, yes.
And did you have any experience of this violence in families prior to this program beginning?
Certainly not in my own life, but I knew of people who had suffered some forms of family violence, not specifically physical violence, but emotional and financial violence. And at the time when I heard those stories, I didn't realise that was part of family violence.
Mm. And the club was involved in sorting this out for people already before the strategic plan came up?
Not really, no. It came out of the strategic plan and the speaker at our district conference.
And also, the speaker at the district conference, did they suggest ways in which the club could become involved?
No.
You had to find them for yourself.
We had to find them for ourselves.
Yeah, we brainstormed basically.
And some people went overseas to study, and there were some courses undertaken.
Mm. Yes, it really... one of the first things was this. We had a couple of people who went out and looked at best practice, and other people will probably be able to give you more details of those particular programs. But basically, it was looking at communities that are actually doing something in these areas, and communities maybe of similar size to ours that can have some ideas that could be applied to our particular community.
Now, you've got a community plan, a council community plan. How's that working with the club?
Well, in a sense, that partly drove what we were doing, because we went to that community plan because, I mean, the community of Maryborough realised that family violence was one of the big issues they needed to address. And that's where we, in a sense, got that idea from. So we really believe, and I think we've come to believe, that one of the best ways of serving our community is to go to the community and find out what they see the problems are.
And were there gaps in the plan suggested, and then that's where the club moved in to fill them?
Yeah, indeed, yes. The things that we actually were doing were things that weren't being picked up by other organisations.